guys, it's Colin here. Just a real quick update. Hey everybody, thank you so much for being understanding lately with the videos. With coronavirus, it's been very hard to secure locations and to go on trips, as you guys can probably tell, so it's been a struggle to find good investigations. But our next series that we're airing on the channel is from East Texas, and it is very, very spooky. Multiple abandoned hospitals, abandoned buildings, like intense evidence, very, very spooky stuff. We used all the equipment. And next week, I'm heading out to film a series with some celebrity guests, some amazing people that are coming with on the channel, and to hit some of the biggest locations in the United States, including the Conjuring House. So you don't want to miss that. Thank you all so much for all the support and the love lately and everybody's messages that I've been receiving. I love you guys so much. You mean the world to me. I just want you to let me know in the comments below. Is there a specific serial killer or murder that captured your interest? Like a historical killing that really you are kind of obsessed with the story, because there are a couple of those that I'm really interested in researching and, you know, telling the stories of on the channel. So if there's something like that, a murder or a killer that really piqued your interest, comment it below, because I want to read your guys' suggestions and I want to delve into it and possibly go film at a location that has to deal with one of these events or people. So anyways, guys, thanks so much. I love you guys more than anything, and enjoy the video. Stay spooky. So it's August 2020. I'm out here in Los Angeles, California. Beautiful city, but when you're here in Beverly Hills, you're not really expecting to come across a murder house somewhere that has such a famous story of kind of darkness. But right behind me on this street right here is I know, I feel like I'm getting weird looks from people like filming in this neighborhood. A lot of nice cars too. Right behind us is the house where the Menendez killed their parents in one of the most famous murders in American history. The trial was insane. It was very publicized, and obviously what happened here was tragic. So I guess I'm gonna go take a look for the first time. See it. They also got some big ass hedges, I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. It seems quaint, but that's the story of this video, what we're gonna get into today. I'm gonna go visit a couple more places after this and bring some more murder stories to the surface, but this seems just like a normal house on a pretty bougie street, but the here were brutal and shocking. So, but it's calm. It's a calm energy around here. Okay, so continue with this murder journey. Bugsy Siegel murder house. This is another famous case in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, where Bugsy Siegel was shot and killed. Like, look at this place. It's a lavish.
What I was trying to say here is that on June 20th, 1947, as mob boss Bugsy Siegel sat here in this very home reading the Los Angeles Times, an unknown assailant fired at him through the window with a .30 caliber military M1 carbine, hitting him many times, including twice in the head. These shots proved fatal, and Bugsy died on the scene in the house, and the murder officially remains unsolved over 73 years later.
Interestingly enough,
I was also trying to mention here in the video that the Bugsy Siegel murder house sits across the street from the infamous Beverly Hills Bermuda Triangle. Many strange events have taken place in this small triangle of land. In 2010, famous publicist Ronnie Chasen was tragically killed in a hit and run at the intersection of Linden and Whittier. And in 1966, William Jan Barry of the band Jan and Dean got into a near-fatal accident at the intersection, resulting in a months-long coma. Ironically, his band was known at the time for their hit song Dead Man's Curve. Most notably, in 1946, Howard Hughes lost control of his airplane, the brand new XF-11, over the streets of Southern California. He tried to emergency land it in a nearby country club, but instead crashed into a house at the fateful crossroads of Linden and Whittier. Hughes survived, but suffered lasting and severe injuries. The Beverly Hills Bermuda Triangle has seen a lot of accidents and bad luck, and it's weird that it's across the street from the Bugsy Siegel murder house. I am also kind of sad that I lost this audio, because right as I was talking to the camera about the deaths, a tour bus drove by, and the leader of the tour was delivering a spooky speech about Siegel's murder and the possibility of his ghost haunting the scene of his death. There are a lot of famous murder houses in Beverly Hills. One such house that is shrouded in mystery is former Superman George Reeves' Benedict Canyon bungalow. In the early morning hours of June 16, 1958, The Adventures of Superman star was found dead from a single gunshot wound to the head. The events surrounding his death have been the subject of much conjecture ever since. Did the 45-year-old actor actually commit suicide, as was the official finding? Was his death accidental, or was he murdered by his vengeful ex-lover or her jealous husband? There were a lot of things that just didn't seem right about his supposed suicide, but the truth of the matter will probably never be known. In an attempt to contact the energy of one of Hollywood's most famous murder victims, I headed out to the streets of LA that night to visit the location where the Notorious B.I.G. was shot and killed in his car in 1997. The streets were cold and lonely that night, and I headed out by myself in an attempt to get some answers of my own.
So it was actually right here at the corner of Wilshire Boulevard and Fairfax in Los Angeles, California, where the Notorious B.I.G. was actually shot and killed back in the 90s. It was this area right behind me in the intersection right in front of the museum. Obviously this is a very sad moment in rap history, and it's sad to be here, but it's something that needs to be remembered and kind of memorialized. Hopefully I can do that a little bit with this video. I'm gonna check out this murder scene, just show you where the actual crime and the killing happened. And then I'm gonna go back to my car, which is parked right a couple feet down the road, and do a spirit box and see if we can hear anything strange. It's very calm out here. So yeah, here's the museum right here. And this is the area right here where he would have been shot and killed back in the day when that happened. You know, it's definitely kind of a weird feeling walking the streets of LA alone at night. God, my hair is so puffy, man. God. But I like it. I dig it. It's got an interesting vibe, this city. Too bad I'm tired as from this week. Okay, so I'm in the car. I'm gonna turn the spirit box on. Notorious, if you're here with me, if your energy is still around here, can you please come and talk to me? Anybody who's here in the area, the shooting happened right behind where my car is. Obviously, I can't stand in the middle of the street in LA at 2:30 a.m. and do a spirit box, so I had to do it in the car. Is there anybody here with me? Were you shot and killed here? There's like nothing coming through, so when something does come through, that's kind of weird. Were you killed here in this area? Is there anybody here with me? Can you say yes if you're here? Did you die in this area? Can you tell me how you were killed? Can you say your name for me? Do you know who killed you? What year did you die in? 96? have anything to say to anybody that listens to your music still? Can you tell me one more thing before I go? Do you have a message? Are you at peace, my friend? Yeah, I'm not really hearing that many responses. Sad what happened here back in the day, but I'm just sitting on the street right now. I tried my hardest, guys, to find some places that were accessible, kind of outdoor murder locations where I wouldn't have to rent a house and set all this up during COVID, but it's just really hard to find all this stuff, and I've had an extremely busy couple of days. Some filming, but more so just meeting with people and getting work done. But figured that I had to film at least one good video. Let's go on to number 2.
The whole point of visiting some of these high-profile murder locations was to demonstrate to you viewers a major paradox that I observed in Los Angeles. These murder homes of the elite are now tourist destinations, and people flock to them in droves just to get a glimpse of the morbid side of Hollywood. But in doing research for this video, I noticed that I couldn't find a single article that mentioned the gang violence and murders in Los Angeles and the celebrity elite in the same breath. So, I decided to tell the stories of those who usually don't get their stories heard, and I headed to Chesterfield Square, the neighborhood in Los Angeles with the highest amount of murders per capita. According to the LA Times, there were a total of 106 violent crimes from mid-July 2014 until the middle of January 2015. With a per capita of 166.1, that's the highest rate in the entire city. But for some reason, no one likes to talk about these murders or bring up the issue of why they're happening. They'd prefer to focus on the glitz and glamour of days gone by rather than look closely at the problems LA faces in its current day and age. Chesterfield Square was once known as the site of the worst incident of gang violence in LA history, in which 5 people were left dead in a gang-related mass murder titled the 54th Street Massacre in 1984. I decided to head to the namesake of the neighborhood, Chesterfield Square Park itself, in the middle of the day to take a stroll and document the area to bring some light to this issue. Yeah, so this is a interesting place, definitely. Just took a walk by myself through Chesterfield Square Park. There have been a lot of murders here. I'm not sketched out or scared whatsoever. It's not what I'm talking about. It's just weird to think about all the murders that happen in this area every year and why we don't talk about it. So where do all of these murder victims go? In the case of the Hollywood elite, they usually receive high-profile burials and opulent monuments. But for those who die without any recognition, they just become another grave in another cemetery. This inspired me to dig through my files and take you guys to the Mount Moriah Cemetery in Philadelphia, one of America's largest abandoned cemeteries. So, we're here now at the abandoned Mount Moriah Cemetery here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Look at that. There's graves all throughout that area back there. Oh yeah, look at that. We're going to try... Oh look, there's a deer over there. We're going to try just get some shots. While it's not technically completely abandoned, the cemetery is in complete disrepair, and there are monuments that have been vandalized, stolen, and graves that have been lost in the ever-expanding woods that lie within the cemetery. When I visited Mount Moriah, it was a beautiful night, and I was shocked at the amount of wildlife that I saw while driving through the burial grounds. Deer ran freely amongst the tombstones, birds hopped from grave to grave, and even foxes sat dormant in the sun. I had never seen a cemetery so alive with nature. It's crazy to think about the fact that when these people were initially laid to rest, that they paid for a secure burial and memorial and expected that it would be maintained forever. However, things don't always play out perfectly in real life, and Mount Moriah Cemetery ceased operations in 2011.
While efforts have been recently taken to restore the cemetery, most of it still lies out in the woods and completely abandoned. It's just a bizarre place because you have the front half of the cemetery, which looks pretty normal, and then the back half in the woods is just completely, inundated with growth. And right here is the famous cemetery gate, which obviously is in complete disrepair. Crazy to see something like this just completely rotted and forgotten. And right there you've got a little deer buddy. It's like a cemetery deer sanctuary.
Even though local groups host monthly cleanup events to maintain the grounds, it would be nearly impossible to cut through the forest and bushes and restore all of the monuments without a massive injection of capital. No matter what though, it was still a beautiful sight, and it reminded me that even death can be peaceful. To finish out my murder series in Los Angeles, I decided to stop by the Westwood Village Memorial Park to pay a visit to one of the biggest stars in Hollywood history. The Hollywood Forever Cemetery in LA is interesting, and yes, the monuments are lavish and there are fountains and marble statues and everything you could imagine from a Hollywood cemetery. But I wanted to show you guys the grave of Marilyn Monroe because I appreciate how humble it is. No matter what, at the end of the day, Marilyn was just another human like you or I. She may have accomplished more than most people ever will in her own industry, but that doesn't make her more deserving of a massive monument than someone who died violently in the streets or a blue-collar worker who was never recognized so broadly in the public eye. Marilyn's grave, along with Hugh Hefner's, is quaint, humble, and respectful, and I felt like it was the perfect way to end this video.
So, a lot of people don't know that this small cemetery even exists. This is tucked behind some apartment complexes in the middle of Los Angeles. But as you can see behind me, it's the resting spot of some of Hollywood's most famous stars and starlets. Monroe's right here, Hugh Hefner is right next to her. But it's interesting.
We're all gonna die one day and end up the same way, and at the end of the day, no one is born better than anybody else. We're all just people struggling to accomplish our goals and lead the most fulfilling lives that we can. Thanks for watching, guys. Next time there will be more ghost hunting, I promise. But until next time, it's Colin here. I love y'all, and stay spooky.